Hi,
Hi,
Debbie.
everybody. I'm going to see if I can share my screen. Let's see if I can do this right. And can everybody see a screen that says be a vision of uncertainty?
No, no, it's coming up. It looks like yes.
Let's see. So it says B2B CFO on it because I can't see what you guys see.
We can see it.
Okay, great. So I had intended today to talk about the PPP loans and the EDL loans. At 11 a.m. this morning, what happened was the loans have been closed by the SBA. They've run out of funds.
Oh,
So if you got an SBA loan number, I'll share this information with you. If your bank got an SBA loan number for you, you should be okay and your PPP should be approved.
wow.
If you got your EDL in before today, they're saying that they're honoring those applications. I have no idea what that means for funding for you, but I can share on the EDL, they made it an employee loan on the grant rather than what they originally talked about. So what that means in English is if you applied for an EDL and you have 3 employees, the grant will be $3,000. If you applied for an EDL and you have over 10 employees, your grant will be $10,000. If you applied for the EDL and the PPP, say you got a PPP grant of 100,000, only 90,000 will be forgiven because they're deducting your EDL grant. So those are the most up-to-date things on those programs. They've been very confusing because literally the SBA has changed those programs by the hour as they're going. Right now, money and federal funds is being tied up by Congress. The Democrats in the House and the Republicans in the Senate can't agree on the package, and folks are getting ready to recess. So we probably won't see any more funding come through till sometime mid-May if they can get the package approved. I know this isn't good news, but this is what the news is on the funding. So if any of you applied for a PPP loan because that was with your bank, which is a payroll protection loan, when you get done with this call today, get on the horn with your banker and make sure that you're going to get funded so that you know what your money options are and what's available to you. That's my best advice right now. So what I did was I thought I would change my presentation today, and you're going to see me looking this way so I can kind of go through the slides. I apologize. I went to order cameras way too late, like 3 weeks ago, and they're still out of good webcams, and my webcam's at the bottom of my screen. So when I do Zooms, I look a little funny. So what I wanted to talk about are what are the things today that are in our control that we can do in this crazy, unprecedented situation. And there's about 10 pieces of advice I want to share today that I want to go through very quickly so that if you have, I want to leave time for questions at the end of the presentation so you can ask me things. So I think the most important thing is as leaders, we have to be the positive people to our employees and our customers. And I wanted to talk about that today. There we go. So the first thing that you should do as a business owner is revamp your 2020 strategic plan. Whatever you thought was going to happen, it's changed, right? It's not going to be the same thing. Your plan that you did on January 1 or you got finished with in February maybe is totally obsolete. So what you want to do is sit down and take this time to figure out how you're going to operate and achieve your goals. And I think it's very important to focus on what you can do. Right now in the news media, there's so many things people are telling us we can't do. We have to stay at home. We can't do this. We can't do that. We've got a lot of negativity in the world. And I think it's really important as business leaders, whether you're leading a team or you're a manager, it's really important to share with your employees and with your customers, what are you doing? Not what can't happen, but what are you doing to help them with things today? And I think this is a great time to look at new services and processes. I think a great example is restaurants doing all these drive-by deliveries. There was a great story on Fox 2 News about how delivery people are actually going and helping hand out food to people because there was a need for that. So people are finding all these different kinds of needs and things that they didn't think that they could help with and things they can do. So I think innovation is the key. You've got to be thinking outside of the box in these kinds of times. So the next thing I think you should focus on, and this is going to sound counterintuitive, is create some aggressive goals that promote your action, focus, and growth. So maybe one of those goals is a 3 times growth goal. And you're like, Debbie, I can't grow right now. And that's where I want you to get out of. Don't think about what you can do now. Think about what can happen after this is over. For my clients right now, I've been emphasizing to make sure that they have the right amounts of inventory, especially if they're distributors, because what I feel is going to happen is once the economy's up and running again, people are going to go to the people that have product in stock, and that's going to be important. So if you're the guy or the gal that they can get things from, they're going to go to you first. What new markets have you been trying to get into? You could focus on those now and figure out how you can enter those markets or what you can do. And the thing you want to make sure you're doing with is leading with excellence and motivation. You're the person that motivates your employees at the top. If you come in and are crabby for the day, your employees are going to be crabby. If you're checking in with them because you're all working virtually and you're not sounding optimistic and encouraging, they're going to pick up on that energy from you. So it's really important as leaders that we promote what we believe in. So I think the other thing we need to do is conduct strategy discussions and performance assessments. It's a great time for SWOT, right? What are your strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats? And how do we enter this in the renew reality of business? How are you going to respond to those immediate threats and assess what you need to do business right now? So I think to serve your customers and your employees, you've got to assess what is the company really good at. And if you've got threats and weaknesses, figure out how you can improve those now, right? This is a great time to work on that. I think the other thing you need to do is think lean and evaluate variable costs. So evaluate what expenses are necessary for your operations, what expenses aren't necessary for your operations. How can you get products out to your customers faster, better, leaner? You do need to look at how can you cut delivery times. So maybe you've got non-value added processes in your distribution system or how you do business. Take a look at that. This is a time to get rid of that so you can deliver on time. And it's critical to cut expenses in bad times, but let me give you some examples of some bad expenses to cut. So if you're trying to increase operations, this isn't a good time to cut salespeople, right? Or if you're trying to get a bigger presence in the market, this might not be time to cut your marketing budget. But what it might be a good time to do is say, what are the specific duties or what are the specific actions or what is it that you want out of those two functions, the metrics that you want measured to know that they're working great for you and your company. And I think, you know, this is a great time to organize, manage product development, talk to suppliers, talk to customers, and, you know, figure out what you can do where you have less human involvement, maybe less floor space, less capital, less time. And when I say less human involvement, that's just improving operations. That's not talking about getting less people. It's talking about operating more efficiently. So I just want to make sure that people understand that. And I think the other thing is you have to rely on good data to make good business decisions. So data analytics, they look at a company's weaknesses and vulnerabilities. And when you make decisions with data, you can identify quickly areas that need to be focused on and make effective plans for yourself and your employees to improve what those processes are. I think my favorite thing to say is, don't forget that behind every number in your company, there's an employee and a person. And behind every person, they contribute greatly to your numbers. Those two are intertwined. And socially responsible companies that are working during this crisis, and what I mean, they're looking out for their employees and not just their bottom line. Those are the companies that'll develop huge employee loyalty and have great resources when they come out of this. So the other thing is to make sure that you're creating a culture of realistic optimism, right? So, and I don't mean realism where it's like the donkey from Winnie the Pooh, right? We don't need that kind of optimism. What we need is, focusing on the can-do attitude. What's your company mission? What are the visions? What are the values? What do you pride yourself on doing? A business culture that surrounds your organization with remote working, this is hard for people to do right now, right? So how do you make sure that your workforce stays motivated when you're working remotely? A lot of check-ins and a lot of communication. And you want to also make sure that you're creating an environment of trust, patience, and support. So when you're working with people virtually, it's not the same 8-hour day. Some of your employees may have children that they have to deal with now, or maybe they're homeschooling. So there has to be flexibility in the way that you're working with your employees and the way that they get deadlines done for you. And, so you've got to support them during this time of crisis and still make sure, it's a balancing act that your work's getting done. So, and I think this is huge, fraud. There's going to be a lot of fraud, unfortunately, right now, and we really need to be observant and diligent to it. So fraudsters, for example, are going to reach out to you now that the SBA has closed these loans and say they have a way to do it for you, right? They could reach out and say, hey, if you pay me a fee of $1,000 or you pay me $2,000, I'll be able to get this SBA loan through for you. And the answer is no, they can't. The other thing that's really important is that your employees have segregated duties. Typically, fraud actually happens in businesses from employees that have worked for you a long time, and it normally takes 2 employees to collude to have fraud. So keep employees looking out for those signs for you, and train them how to spot fraud, especially computer fraud. There's been a lot of fraud lately with wire transfers and payments that look like they're requests coming from your vendors. So make sure that those requests are valid. One of the easiest ways to improve your cash flow and ensure good cash flow is making sure you get paid on time. So think about your business and how many instances could somebody pay you on the spot. I'll get a lot of pushback from business owners on this sometimes. And think about it, when your plumber comes to your house, he doesn't bill you, right? You pay him right there on the spot. So think about your business, and are there ways or certain services that you could get paid for right away or in a shorter period of time? When's the last time you looked at what your due dates are? Do you really need to be 30 days out? Can your service justify 10 days? And then make sure that you make it easy for your clients to pay you. This is a time, if you haven't got on to electronic age and doing electronic invoices, this is a time to do it, folks. You want to make sure it's as easy as possible for people to pay you. And then you may want to offer a discount to customers that pay you rapidly. So the faster you get paid, the quicker you get your cash in, the better it is for you. And I think number 9 is probably the most important, especially in unsure times. You want to become a safe haven to not just your customers, but also your employees. And as business leaders, this is probably the hardest part, which is why I'm smiling, because I have told my customers this too. This is a time to over communicate. And what I mean by that is you don't have to have answers for everybody about what's going on in the world or what's going to happen with a company, but they need to see your face. They need to hear from you. They need an encouraging email. They need an encouraging text. They need to know you're acknowledging what they're going through right now, and they need empathy. And they also need to know that you appreciate the work and the job that they're doing for you right now. It's incredibly important. So, I mean, for leaders that have a hard time communicating, I know this is hard, but you know, it could be something as simple as an email, a 1 or 2 line email that you send out to your employees. You know, encouragement on a project that they're working for you right now. You know, and anticipate what your employees' needs are or your customers' needs are going to be as we face these disruptions, so that you can drive a brand message based on safety, empathy, and action. And lastly, this is a great time to learn from experience and to rely on experts. So I think the most important thing as leaders is just don't beat yourself up. We're all going to make missteps during this crisis that's unprecedented. But I think what we have to focus on is strategy, fiscal discipline, innovative ideas, be a sounding board, and take proactive steps to weather this storm. So, you know, hire experts. Experts like somebody like myself at B2B CFO, you know, we can help you with financing, cash flow, and other financial safeguards. And that's my little bit, the only thing I'm going to talk about there. But rely on those experts that you have in your own network. You know, your financial advisor, your business attorney, your accountant, maybe your marketing person. They're a wealth of knowledge. So don't try to do this all on your own. And I hope you found some of the information in the presentation worth your time, and I am opening it up now for questions.
Debbie, I don't have a question so much as a comment. One of your last thoughts there about don't beat yourself up.
Yes.
I think is right on the money, and I think it's helpful for the employees of a company to know that whether you're out of work or whether you've got less work to do, this isn't because of a performance issue on you or your company's part. This is just because of the storm that we're in. And just like storms, they last longer than we like, but they do go away, and this one too will go away.
Right. And if you had to furlough your team, you know, that's a great point. And, you know, you fully intend on bringing them back because maybe you had to furlough them because of the shutdown. Make sure you're still communicating with them some way or some form so they know that you're still looking out for them. Any other questions or comments? So to see my Zoom, I have to look up this way. My camera's way down here, so that's why I look so funny all the time.
Okay, it doesn't look like there's any questions, anyone. You have your information in case someone does?
I do. So here on my last screen is my contact information. And right now, my company, there's 200 of us across the US. We're all partners. We've been around for 32 years. We're offering free cash consultations for 30 minutes to businesses. So please feel free to contact me and take advantage of that. We really are here to help. And it's our give back to the community.
Thank you, Debbie.
All right. Thank you so much. It was such an honor to be able to speak to everybody today.
Thank you for coming and speaking to us. It was very great information, and I'm glad that you were able to switch your programs over.
I know. I felt terrible. I was like, I got notified at 11 what happened, so I had an hour to put this together. So I hope